In minus 65 degrees Celsius freezing silence, only a farmer and his loyal dog stood against the storm.
Easy there. Back, wait your turn. All right, settle down.
The dog watched, waiting to save his life. The farmer's sister came from the city to visit, but the dog sensed something was terribly wrong. The farmer couldn't bear the pain anymore, so they called an ambulance. He came back, and the dog couldn't hide his happiness. The winter that year was brutal. The temperature dropped to minus 65 degrees Celsius. The wind cut through clothes like knives, and the roads were covered with thick ice. In a small frozen village lived a 45-year-old farmer named Arman. Arman owned a large farm, dozens of cows, many sheep, a few barns full of hay. But there was no one to help him. His young wife and their little son lived in the city because of school and work. Arman stayed in the village alone, taking care of the animals on the farm. Well, almost alone. He had one companion, a large, intelligent German shepherd named Rex. Rex followed Arman everywhere. When Arman fed the cows, Rex sat near the barn. When Arman checked the sheep, Rex walked beside him. At night, Rex guarded the farm from wolves. Arman always treated the dog like family. He spoke to him, fed him first, sometimes even shared his dinner. Rex understood everything. The terrible day. One morning, the snowstorm finally stopped, but the ground had turned into solid ice. Arman walked outside with a bucket of feed for the animals. Rex followed him as always. The wind howled across the empty fields. Arman stepped near the barn. Then suddenly, crack! His boot slipped. Arman fell hard on the frozen ground. He felt a terrible pain shoot through his leg. "Ah!" he cried. Rex immediately ran to him. The dog barked nervously and tried to lick Arman's face. Arman tried to stand, but the pain was unbearable. He had injured his leg badly. There was no one nearby, no workers, no neighbors close enough to help. Arman slowly dragged himself inside the house. For several days, he tried to treat the wound himself, but the weather was too cold. The injury became worse. His leg started swelling. Then came the infection. The skin turned dark. The pain became unbearable. Soon the wound began producing pus, and the leg slowly started turning black. Arman became weaker every day. Sometimes he couldn't even get out of bed. Only Rex stayed beside him. The dog barely left his side. Sometimes Rex quietly whined, as if he knew something was very wrong. The sisters' visit, meanwhile, in the city, Arman's sister Layla felt worried. Her brother hadn't answered the phone for several days. Something didn't feel right. So she decided to visit him. The road to the village was dangerous and icy, but she drove for hours through the snow. When she finally arrived at the farm, she immediately noticed something strange. The animals were quiet. The yard looked empty. Rex suddenly ran toward her, barking loudly, almost as if he was asking for help. Layla hurried inside the house. What she saw shocked her. Arman was lying on the bed, his face pale, his body weak, and his leg. It was swollen, dark, and badly infected. "Arman!" she cried. Without wasting a second, she called an ambulance. The hospital. The ambulance arrived quickly. When the paramedics carried Arman outside on a stretcher, Rex followed them anxiously. The dog ran around the ambulance, whining, barking softly. Then something happened that nobody expected. Rex sat down near the stretcher, and tears filled the dog's eyes. The paramedics looked at each other in silence. Even they felt emotional. The ambulance doors closed, and Arman was taken to the hospital. Doctors said the infection was very serious. They had to operate immediately. For several hours, surgeons fought to save his leg. Finally, the surgery was successful. Arman would survive. Waiting at the farm. While Arman stayed in the hospital recovering, Layla remained on the farm. She fed the cows. She checked the sheep. But the most heartbreaking sight was Rex. Every evening, the dog sat near the gate, looking down the snowy road, waiting, as if he believed his owner would return any moment. Days passed, then weeks. Finally, the doctors allowed Arman to go home. The reunion. The car slowly approached the farm. Snow covered the fields. The barn stood quietly in the cold winter sun. Rex was lying near the gate. Suddenly, the dog lifted his head. He saw the car. He smelled something familiar. Then Rex jumped up and started running. Faster and faster. The car stopped. The door opened. Arman stepped out slowly with a walking stick. Before he could say anything, Rex ran straight into his arms. The dog barked, cried, wagged his tail wildly. Arman knelt down and hugged his loyal friend. "I'm back, boy," he whispered. The cold wind blew across the fields, but for the first time in weeks, the farm felt warm again, because the farmer had returned, and the dog who never stopped waiting was finally beside his owner again.